Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Politics. Today we're turning in chapter book 5 to chapter 5, which is we're going from the beginning part of book 5 was kind of the general theory of political change, and now we're going to be looking at the in chapter 5, 6, and 7, we're going to be looking at way specific types of regimes engage in change, political change, revolution, metabole, he says. Today, we're looking at 5, which deals with democracy. So let's go to the chapter. Um, what derives from these kinds of things should be split up and studied on each case. So he says we're going to be studying each of the case. So we know that these are the engines of this. We're going to be studying, looking at the way that that we didn't look at the regime now. We're going to each regime type is going to have the way this revolution is going to operate. Now, here he goes. Now, democracies undergo revolution on account of the wanton behavior of its demagogues as popular leaders. In other words, the leaders, political leaders. In other words, as political leaders will be the reason why revolutions go and change. On the one hand, by harassing individually those owning property, they get them to combine for fear being brings together even the worst enemies. On the other hand, they egg the multitude on publicly against them. So therefore, the demagogue or the popular leaders will try to edge it. They will kind of, out of fear of these people saying these things, leaders doing these things, the rich will get to get that. Or what's happening is what even though, or they egg the people on to do more and more and more and more that cause one may see many cases where this happened. Now he's going to give examples. And costs or underwent the cost of democracy underwent revolution when a vicious popular leader arose there. For the notables revolted. Right. This is 35. This is, again, nothing is known about this event. He'll say, again, right, as a note, at Rhodes, so therefore costs is one. Rhodes, again, another island city, right? The popular leaders provided pay to the people and at the same time prevented the Terraks getting what is owed to them. While these, on account of the suits brought against them, were compelled to stand together and overthrow the rule of the people. Okay, this is apparently the popular leader used money that was supposed to be used for ship construction or repair, and to provide subsidies for the people to attend the assemblies and similar activities. Right? They should have used in other words, they used the money that was designed for the regime to uphold the ships and things like this, and used it to instead give people that. And then what happened? Well, this led the notables to saying, "Well, no, we're going to overthrow the people." Right? Now, what happened? Again, notables both these cases that democracies are overthrown. One because of the abuse of that, and both again the leaders abuse things. One was that they it was vicious. The other one is that they manipulated. They kind of used money inappropriately. Right. The rule of the people was overthrown in Heraclea immediately after the colony was settled on account of the popular leaders. Again, leaders, the demagogues, right? The popular leaders. After the colony was settled on account of the popular leaders, the notables were treated unjustly by them and went into exile. But the exiles later gathered together, returned to overthrow the rule of the people. Again, 37. This is probably city, probably Heraclea, Black Sea, colonized by Megria in the middle of the 6th century. Nothing's known about this event, he's saying. Next, so that was Menokia. So we have Rhodes, Kos, Rhodes. Now we get Heraclea. Now we're going to get Megria. The democracy of Megria was also overthrown in a similar way. The popular leaders, in order to be in a position to confiscate their goods, expelled many of the notables until they had created many exiles, whom then returned, defeated the people in battle, and established the oligarchy. Okay, this is 38. This is, like he says here, it says, this is almost repeating the same event that happened in 3.5 we talked about, right? This is nothing known about this, but this seems to be repeating the thing in chapter 5, in book 3, chapter 5. So the same thing again happened in the case democracy claim, which was overthrown by Thersimachus, right? Okay. Now, what's interesting here is nothing is known of this man, but also I should have Thrasymachus name. Come on, Plato's Republic. Thrasymachus, very famous tyrant. Is a tyrant, right? And one would see in studying other cases as well as that revolutions or change, political metabae, occur just in the same manner. So they occur in the same manner in that sense. So you had this abuse of the rulers. The rulers are abusive. The rulers are things. He says sometimes in order to win the favor of the people, popular leaders will treat notables unjustly and cause them to combine, yielding them up their properties for redivision or their revenues as a result of public services. Sometimes they slander the wealthy in order to be in a position to confiscate their goods. Right now, this is the danger here. It says that this is the way. This is what the popular leader agitates. They do these things. They do so either because they want to, take the money from the wealthy to justify their policy, or or win the people's favor, right? So therefore, that's what they do. It they put up their property or they slander them, right, to get the people to confiscate their goods. In ancient times, when the same people were both popular leaders and generals, democracies under now he's talking about what happens, why that happens, the change. Now he's talking about the direction. In ancient time, the direction of these revolutions, when the popular leader did this, um, democracies underwent change into tyranny. And the most ancient tyrants arose from popular leaders, from demagogues. So this is like Pristaris in Athens and other things. This is this is in ancient times. He's saying that when they were the popular leaders were also done with war. The reason this happened, but not now, but does not now so much, he says, is that popular leaders then came from those who were served in generals and were not particularly skilled at speaking, whereas now the growth of rhetoric, those who are capable of speakers act as political leaders, but on account of their inexperience in military matters, they do not attempt anything as to taking over and becoming a tyrant. Though this may have happened elsewhere in rare cases. In other words, so a speaker might have been a very good speaker. Does this? He's saying that what happens here is that therefore the tyranny is now not going to be just tyrants. That's why we have to understand that back in book 4, when he talked about the variations, the last type of democracy and the last type of oligarchy, these are variations. This is a type of tyranny. It's the same. It is just as tyrannical as having the tyrant. That in ancient times, the demagogues, because of their skill, they weren't skilled at doing it. Their ambition would lead them to then seize the power, right? They were capable of being, by their military skill, their generalship allowed them to be the tyrant. But today's, because of speaking becomes preeminent, there's no need to become tyrant. You can manipulate, as long as you can manipulate the people, there's no need to actually use coercion. You don't need to be the tyrant. You can keep the regime. This is what even some criticisms of Plato's criticism of Pericles is. That Pericles could manipulate by speaking. This is kind of a critique of the danger of the popular leaders, where the leaders use rhetoric, and that only by rhetoric that they control everything. This is why you can have. This is why the word demagogue became such a negative word in that sense. This is the people's ruling them by the flattery. Again, this is that discussion of the demagogues as discussed in book 4, chapter 4, an elaborate, very long addressing of here, and the way they emerge in certain types of democracies, right? Now, now they happen because he says that they didn't really know this. Right? So tyrannies frequently arose earlier than they now, because the great offices were in the hands of individuals. As in Miletus, one arose from the presidency, for the president had authority over many and great matters. Again, nothing is known about this occasion. This referred to in book 6, chapter 6, and 14 would appear to be a different one, a different case. Right? This is going to be next chapter, line 10, in section 10. This happened further because the cities were not that large. When people lived in the fields and were occupied by their work, while those who were heads of the people, when they became expert in military matters, attempted to set up a tyranny. So therefore, the smaller city was smaller. The people worked out the city. In other words, therefore they in other words, all of them did this. All of them did this, having won people's trust. This trust was based on their hostility towards the wealthy. At Athens, for example, Pistatus, claiming to merit becoming a tyrant as the result of engaging in factional conflict with those on the plain, right? Those on the plain are the people who are the wealthier ones, right? The city were people. Again, this is 41. Pistatus became tyrant of Athens at 560 BC after making himself champion of popular faction, and that is the popular faction, those on the hill, against the oligarchic faction, those on the plain, the hill and the plain, right? That is the people like this, and therefore that's the tendency of this, that he became the tyrant. He was a popular leader. He said, "I'm the popular those the popular faction against those on the." Um, Theagenes did so at Megria by slaughtering the cattle of the well-off when he caught them grazing at the river. Right, so therefore this guy did this again. And Dionysius by accusing Delphinus and the wealthy, winning all trust on account of this enmity as being of the popular. So that, in other words, this is nothing known of this individual Theagenes, tyrant of Megria in the 7th century. For the event connected with the ascension of Dionysius, tyrant of Syracuse, see Diodorus Cyrillus, Diodorus book of history. And, this is one of those great histories I wish we read more of. In other words, Dionysius accusing Delphinus of the wealthy. In other words, they're accusing the wealthy. They attack the wealthy. They attack the wealthy, and they win popular support. But because the city was small and they were out there, they could get people support, and they would get in charge. Okay. But in modern times, this is less likely because what's going to have because people in the city is big. It's not smaller, and people and you can control you by speaking well. You can keep the people in your power and your authority. Get that you constantly have their authority. Democracy undergo revolution as well from traditional democracy to the more recent sort. I mean, the radical, from the traditional kind of a farmers' democracy, moderate democracy, to the urban democracy, the third and fourth types, right? Um, whenever officers are chosen by election, wherever officers are chosen by election, and this is not done on the basis of assessment, and the people elect, those seeking office establish the people as having authority even over the laws in order to make themselves popular. So this is what happens. This is why this becomes more. In other words, they go from the more moderate democracy to the most radical democracy, because why they encourage people to overthrow the law. They themselves would do it. Now he says now he offers a remedy. This is interesting. This is a case where there's a remedy. There's no remedy. He does not. Here he offers a remedy of this. A remedy so that this will not occur. That this idea here, right? or occur or will occur less, is to have the tribes or okay, tribes here, not tribes in terms of ethnic tribes. These are the various administrative districts or districts within the thing. Vote for officials. In other words, you break things into constituencies or districts, logical communities and logical districts of a thing. So the city itself is divided districts. You divide them into districts, and they vote for the official, not the overall thing. Um, not the entire people, not the entire model. Okay. In other words, you break it up. This is why the founding fathers didn't want the Senate to be just elected to all the people. We elect all the Senate. In other words, we would have a national. We don't elect congressmen and senators by having a taking the whole nation. We look at the state, and even the states. Okay, the governor, the senators are picked through as the state writ large, but congressmen aren't. In other words, you don't elect a state that has 6 or 20 congressmen people. You don't choose all 20 congress people. It's divided up into district, right? So you break it up, and you do is this prevents the people. This kind of is a mechanism to restrain democratic urges. Because if you want to be really radical, then the majority wins would be that you vote for the party and they get the control of the legislature for the states, right? Whoever party gets it, they get all. In other words, all of them. Okay, whoever gets it will win all. Um, this destroys minorities. Okay, but also that American. Do you notice that minorities can? But imagine if you did the whole nation. That could be. You'd have a. This is the danger of. This is how democracy becomes tyrannical. This is how you. This is why democracy, taken to its logical situation, is tyrannical. Only by moderating democracy. In other words, oligarchy and democracy, if not moderated and not balanced, leads to what? In, forms of tyranny. So therefore, this is the danger that he's trying to warn about. That the real threat to democracy. Now he goes, nearly all the revolutions in democracy, nearly all change in democracies occur then for these reasons. Wait a minute. I think actually I would even not say all. I say for the most part. I would say for the most part. These are the two principal causes of this. The principal causes is the principal causes for regimes is the danger from of the leaders, of popular leaders, the demagogues, people. In other words, you have to worry about the leaders and people who egg the people on. But why isn't there change? But then isn't there change? In other words, he mentioned the one reason why there was change from the real change of from the moderate democracy to rural democracy was as much changed by the growing part of the victory of the Athenian navy, right, and the victory of the sailors, and that the working class has now become important. For some reason, here he focuses on the role of leaders, the demagogues, as the real cause of political the change in democracies. But we know that there could be other. The logic of what was said earlier would say that. So why does he not mention other things? He offers a solution to this too. This is interesting. He offers us a direct solution, and he ends the chapter on democracy. This is very short. Notice this: the discussion of corruption and deviation of democratic what causes change in the changes on democracy is almost it's almost like saying that it's because of people and becoming and egging the people on to be more and more democratic and to take more and more control. There's no other forces at play, he seems to suggest. And I think that maybe not be. This is maybe the point where why is he saying this? This is why you have to ask. Why does he want us to focus on the demagogue and not focus on other things? Is the demagogue really? Maybe it's because the demagogue is the most dangerous. In other words, it could be that this is why he wants to focus our attention on. But it's also interesting that he focuses not on the multitude. He doesn't focus on the multitude. He focuses on the leader. Notice that the elite, who's maybe part of the notable class, maybe not part of the notable class, not part of the elite. He might be, but he becomes part of the elite by what? His role as leader, right? His role as pop leader. So therefore, this is what I would say. This is the most interesting, and he ends this on this point. This is why this chapter is kind of a little bit frustrating. Um, we'll stop here. If you would you like it, please? And well, first of all, before you liking it, if you have any comments or questions, please put the comments or questions below. Like it if you liked it, like it. Put the like button. Share it with a friend. Share it on social media. Share it around. If you've not subscribed, subscribe. If you've know people that you want to encourage friends to subscribe that might be interested. If you're a teacher teaching this, again, I can understand why a teacher may not want to do that, but this is a good, might be useful. Then didn't like it. You can say just say you didn't like it and say why. Just put a comment why. It'd be useful. I will reply to comments that I get. I'll reply when I see them. Then what we do is you can follow me on social media. The links are below. If you want to help, okay, there's reasons why to help. The world is rotten. I could use some money, really. I'm going to be going to America in after Easter. Some people 20 years ago said, "Here's your see." Well, I don't. It's over with now. Not what do you mean Easter? It's not Easter. I hate asking very specific things, these kind of things, because I hope that these will be used in years from now. So somebody in the future saying, "Wow, this is interesting." Bates wrote a book on Aristotle. He's put these lectures out on Aristotle. Okay, yes. So if you want to help and contribute and help me keep on doing this, because my next project is, I would like to go do after I finish the politics. I will Montesquieu Spirit of Laws. I found a way to put Montesquieu Spirit of Laws on here like this. What I'm using. It was a very hard way to do it, but I did it. And after that, maybe I might look at the ethics, but not the complete ethics. But maybe I might even do Schmidt. I was thinking about doing Schmidt and other writers. Again, if I have the means to do it, I hope to do that alive. Again, one way you can help if subscribe to our progress. Again, you say, but you don't do anything there. I don't do anything because no one's there. I mean, if people were there and there was a community there, I would do something for them. Okay, but you should build it first. Okay, one way you can help, you can always give me money. Through Google, Google Wallet, or used to be able to send money on Gmail, right? I don't know if you can still, but another way you can do it is by buying the book. This is my little note. This is something I did last 2022. It was what? It's a notebook on Aristotle's politics. This is a kind of a study. It's kind of a Cliff's Notes on politics. It's kind of offering a kind of workbook which guides you through the politics text in a way that we're doing kind of similar to what we're doing in these lectures, by which you are able to kind of guide yourself through the various parts, flushes it out, gives outlines, tries to elaborate some of the terms and things like this. It's a useful guide. It's not to be read in substitute of the politics text, but it's useful to kind of use for as you're reading and studying the text. Okay, if you buy it through Lulu, it's I get the profits. Of course, Amazon gets it cheaper, but they make the money in the book. Okay, I get a little bit of money. I get money from it, yes, but I get more from you buy Lulu. So, but Lulu makes you pay shipping, so I understand why people don't do it. Please, again, buy a copy. That's why you want to help. Well, that's it. We turn next to chapter 6, which deals with oligarchies. That's it for today, and have a good one. Bye bye.